Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Kathy Powell. I'll be taking you through AVer's remote console. For the privacy of our customers, all attendees are muted, so please make use of the chat window to let me know if you have any questions, and I'll make sure to include those answers within the webinar. With the AVer remote console, it's not available on Mac. However, it is also available on iPad, iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, mobile devices in general by using the AVer app, and we'll make sure we go through that just a little bit as well. To access the remote console from your desktop, you'll be clicking on this little button that looks like an eyeball. When you first pull up the remote console, you'll have a blank screen up on there. Now what you would want to do is as soon as you go in, you click on the Setup button. From the Setup button, this is where you're going to have access to viewing your internal IP address and your port number in that lower section where it says Remote Server. If you have multiple locations, you can definitely add those additional IP addresses in there under Remote Server so that you have access to those as well. If you're accessing it from within your network, this needs to be your internal IP address. However, should you want to add this remote console to your laptop, you'll need to know your external IP address. You'll also need to know your external IP address for your mobile device if you were to use the app on there. Please call our help desk and they'll be happy to help you obtain your external IP address. The help desk can be reached at 630-301-7444, or you can email them at helpdesk@thaiNational.com. Now, if you'd like to add this to a different laptop or another computer, please access our website, www.thaiNational.com, and go to the Resources page. From there, we have our most up-to-date user guide for the AVer. And we also have a link within there to add the remote console, so that you could add it to other computers. So from this setup page, you would want to go ahead and click on Add if you wanted to add other locations, or if you wanted to add an external IP address in here. When you click on Add, it'll ask you to add a server name. You can name this whatever you want, whatever's going to make you think of that location. The IP address would be perhaps the external IP address, and your port number is 6100. From there, you click on OK. Now in that bottom section where it says Remote Server, you'll want to highlight the location you want to view, and then click on OK. And now your remote console is set up. So we need to log in by clicking on Network. You click on your user ID, which is owner, and the password of 1234. And I'll show you how to change that at the end of our webinar today. This will pull up a 4-screen view of your cameras. Now if you have fewer cameras than that, as you see here we have 3, you'll only see 3 cameras, for example. Or if you have more cameras, on the right side of the screen, you see these numbers 1 through 8 bolded here. Now I could click on these other set of numbers and that would bring up the other cameras. Beneath our camera view, our 4-screen view, we have different options for viewing. We have a full screen, we have a 4-screen, we have a 9-screen, for example, and you could click within those to change your view. You can also click on the individual camera view to pull up a full screen. Now in the top right-hand corner of each of these cameras, you see a tiny little speaker button. In this example, the top left one is green. What that's telling me is if I have a microphone set up for that camera, and I have speakers on my laptop or my computer that I'm using the remote console from, I will be able to hear sound. If I want to listen to sound from another one that I have a microphone set up for, I just simply click on that speaker button in that other camera view to turn that green. On the top right-hand side, you also see alarm. If that's blinking, go ahead and click on it and it'll tell you why. It might be video loss, for example. If it does not clear itself, contact our help desk. Again, their number is 630-301-7444, and they'll be happy to take a look at it for you and determine if it requires dispatch or if it just needs to be reset. Also on the right-hand side, we have auto scan. Now this is kind of fun. If you have a view where you're looking at just full screen, for example, it'll automatically rotate every few seconds to the next camera for you. To get back to it, the other view, just go ahead and click on Auto Scan a second time. AVer is always recording. So when your memory runs out, it's going to start recording over the oldest footage first. Why this is important is because you want to take your footage off of there as soon as you know that something suspicious happened, or maybe it's a training opportunity. As soon as you know about it, log into the remote console, find that footage, and I'm going to show you how to segment that footage and then export it so that AVer does not record over it. So what we do from our live preview mode, on the bottom right hand side says playback. Go ahead and click on that. From here, you could do a local playback, you could do remote playback, and within remote playback we have two different options of download and playback and real-time playback. Now feel free to play with all these different views if you'd like. However, the one I find that most people use is remote playback with the download and playback option. And that's what we'll go through today. This is the only view where you could segment and export footage like I was telling you about. Otherwise, you could only view it. So let's move on and I'll show you how to do that. Let's click on remote playback and download and playback. A lot of people ask me, how long is our memory? Well, it's very hard to answer that because every AVer is programmed slightly different. You might have more cameras, or it's recording at different frames per second. So it's kind of hard to judge that. As we're looking at this, this will pull up a calendar view on the top. Now, on the top view, everything that's in bold is going to be something that has recorded footage. So technically, you could go back in time and see about how far it goes before it's not bold anymore, and that might give you a better idea. So a good rule of thumb is as soon as you suspect anything, get in there, grab that footage as soon as you can. I know sometimes people will say, I plan on checking it every other month. You're probably not going to remember the exact date or time that activity happened in a couple months from now. So you want to get in there as soon as you can and take that footage off. Now the bottom half of the screen has blue squares. You'll see a time clock going on the top of the columns there, and that's military time. So 00 is midnight and 23 is 11 o'clock p.m. And the left-hand side is our cameras. Now if you have multiple cameras that take up maybe the 9-screen view, for example, you'll want to make a little note to yourself as to which cameras point to what. Maybe one's going to your office, one's going to your front counter, for example, because it doesn't have any way for you to label it here. So you'll just see the camera number. Anything that's blue says that there's recorded footage on it. If it's white, nothing's been recorded in that period. Maybe you had video loss, or maybe it's just too early in the day, we haven't gotten to that time yet. The red square is your actual selection. So if I weren't making any changes, it's going to default to midnight on camera 1. So I need to click on the appropriate time square and the coordinating camera, select which one I want to view. Now after making the selection, click on OK, and this pulls up what I call the bug's eye view. It's a little daunting at first, but let me tell you what we're doing here. AVer is seeing this as you're a very busy person, and you don't want to sit there for a whole hour and watch footage. So what it's doing is it's taking it in about 3-minute intervals, and it's showing you a thumbnail snapshot of what's going on in that period. This is great so that you can kind of narrow down to what clip you want to view. Maybe you see some suspicious activity happening in that third square, and that's where you're going to want to start the view, for example. So go ahead and click on it once to turn it red, and then double click on it, and that will open up that footage for viewing. Now once that footage comes up, there will be a little green bar loading on the bottom for you, just like you would download a YouTube video, for example. It's going to have the same kind of buffering capability there. So that's what's happening. Go ahead and click on the play button, and you can start watching that footage. Now, if you find the part that you want to save, there's a button here that says Segment. Go ahead and click on it one time, and that puts a little pink triangle on the bottom for you at the starting point. Clicking on it a second time creates an ending point. And from here, we've created a recorded loop. To save the footage within that little recorded loop, you want to click on Export. And from there, click on Output Video Clip. You can change where the file will be saved at. You can change what it is named. It is automatically named after the date and the time and the camera, I believe. So you can change that to something that makes more sense for you. And you want to save it in a file format of either AVI or MPEG. If you were to save it as DVR, it can only be viewed from the remote console. Now, these other two formats are most common and shareable, so you go ahead and put it on an email, for example, to local authorities, or you can pull it up on your computer and share it with your employees about a training opportunity. But sharing it in those file types is what you want to do. Again, it's important that you take this footage and you save it somewhere where you can find it later. That way then it's not going to be recorded over by the AVer unit. Let's take a look real quick on your mobile device. Again, you'll want to go to your App Store and you'll want to look for AVer iViewer. Now when you pull that up, there's a button that says DVR NVR, and you'll click on that. Just like we did before in setup, we need to give it a location name. We need to set it up with the external IP address. And again, if you don't have that, contact our help desk at 630-301-7444. We need to set it up with port number 6100, your user ID, and your password. And I'm going to show you how to change that in a minute because it's very important that you change your user ID and passwords to protect your privacy. Go ahead and click Save, and that adds the location to the list view so that you can view the live video. When your live video comes up, it will look something like this. Now from in here, you can change the different views by clicking on that little window pane on the bottom left. You could also change which camera you view by clicking on different numbers. But it's important to know that you will not hear sound on the mobile app. So if you do have microphones installed, unfortunately you will not hear sound on here. So if you need to hear sound, you'll have to go back to your remote console when you get to a laptop or a computer. We can review recorded footage by going to Playback. Again, you're going to pull up the date and the time and the camera, and you can hit play and view it. Unlike your remote console with the downloaded playback feature, you cannot segment and export footage from your mobile device. So the mobile device is purely a view-only type of situation. If you need to listen to sound, or if you want to save that footage and send it to somebody else, you'll need to go back to the remote console to do that. Now to change your password, it has to be done from Internet Explorer. Type up in the menu bar, http:// your internal IP address, :6100. So you'll need to do this from within your network. If you don't have your internal IP address, please contact our help desk, 630-301-7444, and they'll be happy to get it to you. Now from within here, you'll click on Remote Setup to access the remote user setup and log in as administrator. It's super easy from here to click on the Add, Edit, Delete Users and reset the password under the user setting. And all you'll do is type over this little square that says password and retype your new password underneath it as well. And then you'll click on OK. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give our help desk a call. Again, they're at 630-301-7444. We also have the most updated user guide on our website, so make sure you go to www.thainational.com under the Resources tab, and you'll find the user guides on the right-hand side. Thank you so much again for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.